Networking? Again with networking? I don't want to go networking. I don't like meeting strangers. Or worse yet, I don't like what happens when we're networking. Have you ever said that to yourself? I don't like networking. I don't like what happens when I'm networking. I don't know what to say, or I don't like what people say. Have you said this to yourself? Hi, this is Evie Hernandez, your strategic growth speaker here at bizuniversity.com. And I love teaching content creators how to leverage marketing automation to increase your online sales easily with ease. And now, today we're going to talk again about networking. And one of the reasons is because there are two ways of networking, online and offline. And now that the world is opening up, we may start attending more networking events. So we're going to address that. Now, welcome. If this is your first time here, please make sure that you are in the chat and you're commenting because we want to hear all about you. Hi, Sherry. Love that you're here. Thank you that you're here, Sherry. Tell us about how you like networking. Do you like it better online or in person? Today, Sherry, I'm going to introduce you to someone that I believe you've met from the Women's Speakers Association. And if not, you're going to get to experience her because today, Sherry, I'm going to introduce you to JJ, and she runs the WSA chapter that you are going to be attending on July the 7th. And now, for those of you who are joining me for the very first time, perhaps you're wondering, why is Live Biz TV today on Tuesday? Well, it is very special because we have a very special guest, and just in a few minutes, I'll introduce you to her. And let me just tell you that tomorrow morning, I'm leaving for a sister adventure with my sister Sylvia to Puerto Rico. So I may be doing some live streaming from the beautiful island of Puerto Rico in the Caribbean. And you may enjoy being there with me through my live videos and pictures that I'm going to be sharing with you. And it is an adventure because she booked it. We're staying in a van on the beach. We're staying in what I'm calling a upscale shack on the mountains, on the mountainside. So you'll notice more about that. But in any event, thank you for joining us. I want to remind you that if you're watching us on YouTube, make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Make sure that you hit the bell so that you know when we have surprise special guest appearances like we do today, so that you never miss what we are sharing with you via YouTube. And if you're in LinkedIn, also let me know that you are joining us from LinkedIn, from Facebook, or if you are sharing or viewing us rather directly from the replay, perhaps inside of our Biz University TV show inside of our page. I'll show you what that looks like. Please let me know that too. Anytime that you want to go back and check any of our previous guests or shows, remember you can go to bizuniversity.com, Live Biz TV, and you will see all our previous shows or most of the latest shows that we have had. And also remember, you can also find them inside our Facebook page, inside my personal LinkedIn page, as well as our YouTube page. And for now, let me just say that I love that you are joining us. And please, Sherry, and anyone who listens or joins us, make sure to put your questions right there in the chat because we love to answer your questions. And also, if you're in the replay, make sure that you ask questions because we'll often go back and answer your questions. For now, let me not delay this 1 minute more, and let me introduce and let me bring up our guest. Hi, JJ. How are you? And you're muted?
I was muted. I'm not muted anymore.
Yay! Thank you so much for joining me today.
You're welcome. You're welcome. It's getting late here now, which is why the lights are on here. So, yeah, I'm in Scotland. So it's fantastic to join you over the other side of the Atlantic.
Well, let me just first begin by saying thank you for joining us today from Scotland. Because what time is it in Scotland right now? I always ask you this.
Yeah, it's just at the back of 8 o'clock in the evening. So we're winding down for the day now.
You are
It's
a
still
champ.
beautiful sunshine outside. Still beautiful sunshine.
Well, I'll tell you, you're a champ. I'm just shutting off my phone and make sure that no one calls. Well, you're a champ. 8 o'clock, I'm usually starting to doze off at 8 o'clock because I go to bed at 10 p.m. So thank you so much for being here with me. And I wanted to make sure that I had you because I am helping to promote an upcoming event that you have. But before we talk about that, why don't you tell us a little bit about you? First, your own business, then how we met and your part in the Women Speakers Association. So why don't we begin by having you tell me and tell us a little bit about you so we get to know you.
Okay, I'm JJ. The JJ stands for Jennifer Joan. And that is a long, long story, but we won't go into that now. But Jennifer Joan Stenhouse, and I'm known as the Practical Alchemist these days. And I help people move forward in their lives. I help them find that gold within that can help them transform into the magnificent human being that we all are. But some of us kind of keep at arm's length. So that's part of my business. I also have a radio show called Alchemy 1.01, Alchemy 101 on UK Health Radio, where I share stories and tips and lots of different things that will hopefully help people just move forward in life, or, you know, give people a little bit of a nudge and say, oh yeah, I can do it that way. I don't have to do it this way. And that might actually help me. So I have a weekly radio show. I do voiceover work. I used to be a journalist. I used to work in television. And I used to present or anchor, as you might say, news programs and current affairs programs and report. And yeah, I did everything there was to do in news and current affairs on TV and radio at one point. So I used to do that and now do some voiceover work. And I still write, and anything to do with media, really, I still enjoy. So I'm also, though, Global Business Connector, Scotland for Women Speakers Association. And that's a role that I've taken up since September last year, and I'm really enjoying. It's all about creating a community of fabulous women around Scotland who have a voice and need to be heard and want to be heard, and giving them visibility, giving them a platform, and helping them forward in their businesses and careers. Authors, coaches, entrepreneurs, whoever has a message, we help them spread it.
I love it. And you know, JJ, I forgot, but as I'm looking at you, I'm like, man, you look good. You look very good. It's 8 o'clock, you're winding down and you're looking good. So I just had to tell you that, you know, we women, we check out women more than men check out women.
Yeah, that's true.
You're in Scotland, it's 8 p.m. and you're looking great and you're sounding great. So I appreciate it. And I want to just say that the first thing that you said already caught my attention, and I shared it inside of the chat with everyone throughout all our channels, YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn. And what you said, I need you to please explain what that means. And that is practical alchemist. Can you explain how you're defining that, what that is for those of us that may not be familiar with that?
Of course I can. And I wouldn't blame you for not being familiar with it because I think I made it up. But anyway, practical alchemy. Yeah. So what is alchemy? Alchemy is transformation. Alchemy in the old days was transforming base metals, lead, into gold. Well, that was the intention anyway. And the old alchemists, you know, what they tried to do was they tried to mirror nature's way, but speed it up in the laboratory so that they could create this fabulous gold metal, this pure gold, out of something which was not quite as pure. Well, you know, that was the story anyway. And of course, what I'm doing with people is saying, let's connect with nature. Let's get back to nature and transform our lives into that place where we can access our gold frequency, bring out the gold within, and become the magnificent beings that we actually are. It's that magnificent golden being that's lurking underneath all that stuff that we layer onto ourselves. And practical alchemist, so that's the transformation side of it, and practical alchemist, because this isn't spirituality. This is practical stuff. This is doing. This is being. This is looking at life and living it, and not thinking about theories and airy-fairy stuff that you might achieve one day. No, no, no. This is life now. So it's practical steps in the life that we're living now to help us transform. And also, we're in a period of transition right now in the world, aren't we? And it's a very difficult time for a lot of people. So it's helping people ride that wave of transition and help them transform, shift into this other world, if you like, that we're moving into. So that's why it's practical alchemy.
Thank you for explaining that. I like it. I mean, when you said alchemy, I knew what it was, but I love how you defined it. And I appreciate that you added the practical, because I think that, that might be one of the things that attracted me to you, besides the fact that you have really good energy. And of course, I love to hear the sound of your voice. And I really like that, because I can relate to that. I love things that are practical and practical transformation. And I guess you, in your coaching, please tell me if I'm correct, you really, like, for me sometimes, like, to give you an example, since I'm traveling tomorrow on a vacation, today I had tons of things to do. So sometimes, I mean, I'm okay now, but sometimes I can get like really anxious, especially because I haven't traveled at all since the pandemic. So I'm thinking that that's where you can come in with events or things that may come up, whether it is a personal or a business event, and you can help them with some tools, perhaps, on what to do. Yes?
Absolutely. And believe me, you're not the only person who might be getting anxious if you're suddenly traveling again after all of this, because I'm seeing so many people right now who have anxieties, just getting into the car and traveling. Because here we, for a long time, weren't allowed to travel more than 5 miles from our homes. Right. So, that's a big ask now. We are allowed to travel outside our regional areas now, but I spoke to somebody the other day who said, I live not too far from Dundee, about 30 miles on the east coast of Scotland. And she said, I was going to Dundee and I got this anxiety attack in the car. A journey she would take with no thought at all beforehand, and suddenly the anxiety. But yes, absolutely. Helping people with that kind of thing, but also just, understanding that, learning and understanding where we really do get our strength from. And it's nature. It's connecting far more deeply with nature that really helps us. And being in silence really helps us. So if we take a moment to be just silent, go inside and just notice how we are and just let that go. So in other words, notice your anxiety and just pay attention to it. Don't do anything. Don't try to change it. Just accept it and just watch it fade away in silence. It's a very neat trick. If you can get used to doing that, it will help.
I like that. And interestingly, so interesting to me that you mentioned in nature. One of the things that I was just thinking about prior to jumping on this show today was about what I'm calling my adventure with my sister to the island of Puerto Rico. And the reason why it's an adventure, I mean, I am going to see some family and take care of some business that we have, because both of my parents deceased and they have property that was there. she booked time in a van that we're staying on the beach, which, at first I was anxious just because of that, because I've never done that. So that'll be an experience. But we're going to be probably with little to no Wi-Fi on the beach. Then I mentioned she rented an Airbnb that is literally, I'm calling it a shack because it's just wood and some, I forget what they call it, very low cost material. And then it's 3 floors, but it's literally on the side of the mountain where you're going from one side down to the next little shack, all like one little shack on the side of the mountain. So I was thinking, wow, I'm probably not going to have any Wi-Fi. So I'm taking a little notebook. And earlier today, I was in a meeting in one of my women speakers mastermind. And I said, I am looking forward to meditating and allowing the universe to talk to me. And I was thinking, I'm going to take a notebook. And I've been pondering upon what book, because there's a specific book that I believe that I'm supposed to consume while there. I'm going to be in silence. Then I'm going to have some time to just chill because there's no TV, there's no radio, nothing like that in these locations. So I was saying, what is the book that the universe wants me to bring? And I'm kind of like really expecting to really have a really good talk with myself and hear that inner guidance from within me really talk to me. So I am really setting up that intention for like a beautiful, beautiful something experience to happen. So is that kind of like how you work with people?
That is beautiful. I mean, yeah, if you can do that, that is a fantastic thing to do. That will do you so much good. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I work with people on different levels, but one of the things that I really do recommend is getting into nature daily. Now, you talk about staying in a van. I'm actually just buying a tent. I've never owned a tent in my life. I'm 66 years old and I'm buying a tent because I want to get out into nature. I go swimming in the sea as often as I can here now, just wild swimming. It's not warm. It isn't the Caribbean. It's not, we're not talking,
It's not Florida.
It's not Florida. No, it's not Florida. But it's very good for you. And there's something beautiful about making that connection with the water. Water is very important. So if you can go wild swimming, if you can go swimming in a river, a lake, the sea, the ocean, do it because it's so good for you. So I do that connection with nature, and then hopefully you get time to be alone or quiet in nature. Just tune in to what's around you. So you've got the perfect opportunity there. Tune in to what's around you. Tune into the trees and the plants around you because they have a consciousness as well. They are also conscious. And, in the old days, some years ago, people used to laugh at our Prince Charles because he apparently talked to plants. But of course, we do communicate with them on a different channel, maybe slightly different channel to the one that I'm communicating with you all now, but we can communicate with them. Tune into the plants around you. Listen to the silence. Listen to the birds. And just notice how that is with you. And then notice what's coming up from you, from inside you, that beautiful heart, that light, that fire within you. What's bubbling up from there? Because that is the truth. That's what, that's you, that's your knowing, that's your wisdom coming up from inside you with your instructions for what you need to be doing. And I think it's fantastic that you're having this trip because it will so help you and relax. So beautiful. All that greenery around and fantastic.
I am so, now that I have the pleasure of interviewing you, I spoke in my women's speakers mastermind. My last words were, all things are in divine order. Yeah. And it's interesting because I I had said to myself earlier this week, I think it was Sunday, how I scheduled last week's speakers. I think she was supposed to be today, and you were supposed to be last week. But now that I hear you speak, it's all in divine order because, I really am looking, and now you made me think even further. Puerto Rico is my mother's native land because she was born in the island. And I love looking at butterflies. It always reminds me of my mom that passed, it's going on 8 years. So I'm going to really, really touch the soil, the plants, as you're saying. My mom used to love trees. I think that when she was a little girl, she used to climb trees. So I'm going to look for her through nature, look to have an experience with me, with nature, and with my mom through nature. So I'm so happy that we're having this conversation. And as you were speaking, it started to bring up some things as far as networking and some analogies. I was listening to you and I thought, how interesting that we're talking what I felt like connection to nature, connection to our higher self, and how it is not really that different from connecting with other people. Which, for those that don't know, I met JJ through the Women's Speakers Association, and I commended her because, to me, and I believe that, let me know that I am correct, that you were the first one to initiate these amazing, what I'm calling amazing networking events at the Women's Speakers Association, correct?
Yeah, I did the first one, I think. Yeah, that's right. That's right. They're becoming a regular thing now and are becoming so popular, really. People are loving them. Yeah.
And I am one of those people. And when you and I talked before, I said, thank you, thank you, thank you. Because I said, this is one of the things that I've enjoyed the most about the Women's Speakers Association. And we have an event coming up, and I want to make sure that those that are interested can check out. I'm actually going to put a link in just a little bit below, but I want to make sure that people check it out. But before we go there, why don't you tell us a little bit about these events? You initiated them, and just share a little bit about your experience. I mean, I'm grateful because even before you and I had a one-on-one, before I got a chance to do this interview, I experienced that event that you put together. So tell us a little bit about that.
Well, we started doing these events because we wanted to just, reach out, get more people together. We've all been through and some of us have been through a pretty horrendous time, right? And, but we're all getting on with our lives. We're all getting on with our businesses. But for a lot of us, we're fairly isolated in many ways still. And so that was part of the impetus and saying, look, let's just all just get us all together. Just, bring people together so that we can share. So that's what we started doing. And so we invite people all over the world to come to these global networking events. And you will hear 2 or 3 people with a spotlight, a speaker spotlight, offering their wisdom.
I'm one of them. We'll talk more about that.
Yeah. We'll talk about that in a minute. Yeah, exactly. Offering their wisdom and maybe offering something that you might be able to take away with you. And then there is time to network. And this is the gem. This is the genius of it, because we get to meet people and share and ask and, just lay it all out there, put yourself out there, but also if you need anything, ask. And you know what? The magic that happens in some of those networking rooms, fantastic. I love it. I love it when I get the feedback from people saying, oh, I got, I got a client, or I got just exactly the right advice I needed, it's wonderful. There's some kind of magic happens with it. I don't know how. Nothing to do with me, or nothing to do with the organizers, but the people who come to the events, I think, create that magic. Because what I've noticed is that the people who come to the events are willing to share, offer, be there, and get to know, come together in community. That's the brilliant thing about WSA. I don't know how you see it, but I love the community that we have in WSA.
Well, I'll tell you personally, I feel like I loved it since you started doing these events. I mean, if I'm being honest, because um, you're absolutely right. The connections and the experience inside the Women's Speakers Association, WSA, and let me just give a shout out to Gail Watson,
Yeah.
who is the founder of the Women's Speakers Association, for coming up with the idea of having the global connectors. And so far, like I had an interview and I was a spotlight guest with Donna, and I met with Donna, and Donna is amazing. Donna Duffy.
Yeah.
She leads the Delaware one, and she is just a beautiful soul, a beautiful woman, a great entrepreneur, a creative marketer like me and like you, because you're kind of sort of also in marketing. And I just connected with her, and she's just a beautiful person. So shout out to Donna Duffy, who leads out the group in Delaware, and of course to Gail for putting together these amazing group of women. And really to you to me, I mean, I think that what you did really impacted me, because that's when I really felt like I began connecting. And for those of you that are wondering, you can, if you're a woman, join the Women's Speakers Association. And we want to invite you to check out the upcoming event. If you look down below, whether you're here now live or in the recording, you can go to that link, which is a link that I created directly to JJ's Eventbrite page. And you'll see that it's a bit.ly link, and it's bit.ly WSA 7721, and that is because it's the Women's Speakers Association, and the event is July the 7th. And remind us again at what time the event is on Wednesday, July the 7th. At what time is it?
It's 7 p.m. UK time. So that would be 2 p.m. Eastern. And what is that then on Pacific time? 8 hours behind. So 11 o'clock in the morning Pacific, isn't it? That's right. Yeah.
I think so. So for those of you that want to join, what it's going to be an amazing event. This is not your traditional networking. And let's talk a little bit about that, because I've been focusing since we are here in the United States opening up, and even during the pandemic, I personally have enjoyed networking online much more than I have networking in person. For me, number one, because I'm more selective of the groups that I'm part of. So I'm very targeted, and I'm attracting people who are like me. I mean, like you, I work with a lot of speakers. So I love that we already have that thing in common: speakers, authors, coaches, consultants. So that's number one. And number two, I'm appreciating and enjoying really, and I'm going to go and use the word connecting again, because unlike the more traditional networking that I used to do in person, I'm really enjoying getting to know people and just trusting the process of really seeing, well, where can we collaborate? Where can we empower each other? Where can we help each other, as I like to call it? Where can we synergize? Because you know that I started doing these, what I call synergy partner networking events. And the reason for them is because I want to explore other people like you who are amazing, who are doing great things, like you, like me, out in the community, to bring us together and go beyond a transaction and not be transactional people, but to see how can we connect and really help. And I'm going to be honest with you, that is a big shift for me. And it is something that I'm learning. And it's been happening, believe it or not, since the pandemic, because being like this with people allows you to really get to know people more deeply, more sincerely, more truthfully than when I was doing in-person networking. So for me, it's been a shift, and I can tell you I am learning. So I'm in the process of growing through this connecting. And so tell us a little bit more about it, and tell us about how what do you think is the difference between this idea that we're talking about connecting versus just perhaps some of what we may call more traditional networking?
It's so interesting, isn't it? And I love the way that you've been talking about it. It's absolutely true. And also, I must say, also Donna I'm a great fan, and Gail, but also Michaela Quilici has been absolutely key in getting all these events going. But yeah, I have over the years been a member of and been to, I don't know how many networking events. I've been to the kind of event where 100 people are crammed into a small flat in London, with a glass of cheap wine and a plate of chips, to sort of see you through, where you kind of don't really get to connect. You're meeting people, but you don't connect. You're collecting business cards, but you don't connect, right? Now, and then lunches and, evening things. But again, somehow there's no real connection. I was very clear, and I think everybody at WSA is very clear, that these events are about connecting. And we set that intention, that people connect, that they have a good time, that they meet, that they, have a good conversation, that they find something out, that they, they can learn, or they can ask, or whatever you want. And there's something intimate about doing it online that you don't get, paradoxically, when you're meeting face to face. Is that something that you found? Yeah, exactly. I don't know what that is. I have to admit, I really don't know what that is. But I have enjoyed these so much more than face-to-face networking, like you. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's because, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Go on.
No, go, please.
No. I was just going to say, I don't really understand what it is, but I think it is that the thing that you are literally in somebody's room.
Oh my God, I was just going to say that.
And so you're in somebody's home, you're in somebody's room or their office maybe, but you're in somebody's room and you're in their space virtually, but you are in their space, and it's much more intimate.
Absolutely. And it's interesting that that's exactly what I was going to say. I believe that is what's happening. We're experiencing in 2021, I said my word was going to be experience, and delivering experiences and having more experiences. And I think that the connection that I'm having with you even right now, even though we have other people that are, coming in and off, it's about that experience that we're having with each other. And that is why I think that we are really connecting and having a much more better experience than we were when we were in a rushed event that seems so cold. It's funny because it's called networking, but many times so cold.
Yeah.
And so it's a different experience. So definitely, I want to encourage those that are curious about what is JJ and Edie, what are they talking about, to go ahead, and I put it in the chat as well as the banner below. On Wednesday, July the 7th, when I come back from my awesome Puerto Rico adventure with my sister, we are going to be joined by other amazing women like JJ, like I, because we're amazing, and the entire group of Women Speakers Association for what is truly a connection experience. So if you are a woman, whether you're a speaker or a coach, an author, and you would like to join, make sure that you click in the link. And by the way, let me go ahead and say, Donna
has
joined us. Donna, yes, I gave you a shout out because you are so amazing. Donna is joining us, and she heard what I said, a shout out to Donna, because Donna is amazing. And really, I mean, just these synergies and these connections are invaluable. So please make sure that if you want to have this experience and really experience what we are talking about, make sure you jot down that day. More importantly, just go ahead and click there and reserve your spot, because yes, it is about business. Yes, you're going to get a chance to say your 30-second commercial. Yes, I'm going to be a spotlight speaker, and I'm going to really probably focus in Puerto Rico about what I want to share then, and I'll work on that. And there's so much more that happens. Like I said, I had the pleasure of meeting Donna, who's out there listening to us, and just a beautiful, amazing, powerful woman. Same thing here with JJ. So if you're looking to really look and see, how to connect with other powerful women, to empower each other, to perhaps synergize and see where can we collaborate, where can we work together, maybe give referrals to each other, and really to connect now with the whole world, as we can do so beautifully now through the internet. And I just think it's just amazing and it's beautiful. And then to just trust, as I started saying a little bit before, that all things are in divine order, and you don't have to rush to be like I used to be. JJ, when I used to go to networking events, well, I always just kind of sat back and said, let's see who I attract. And then when it was getting closer, I would get a little antsy and be like, oh, I just sat or kind of just waited, because I'm not interested in quantity. I'm always about quality. Yeah. And if I didn't meet at least one quality person, I would start getting a little anxious. Oh, my goodness. I feel that since the pandemic, I'm more in a trusting and say, you know what? We're supposed to somehow connect. I don't know if we're going to collaborate, if I'm going to give you a referral, if you're going to give me a referral, if you're going to be a client, or what's going to happen. And I'm okay with that. Let's see about what is it that's happening right here, right now.
Absolutely. And I think one of the things about these networking events is that there aren't the distractions that you have at a face-to-face event with lots of people. And how many people have we met at networking events who are always looking over your shoulder, right? There's always the distractions. And there's the distractions of the glasses of wine maybe being passed around and all of that. We don't have those, and we're able to have that quality time together. And we can trust the magic of that, because really magic can happen.
I like that. Well, before I have some announcements to make of upcoming events and everything. Is there anything else that you would like to share in terms of the work that you do? Because you mentioned you do the practical alchemy. You also do the voiceover. Of course, me as an American here in Miami, which we have so many different accents, I love the two that you do, because you explained to me you have two accents that you do.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of us, I think anyway, that we seem to appreciate that accent. And so you do that. You've written a book too, haven't you?
Well, I did write a book and lost the manuscript, and I'm rewriting it now. I had a computer meltdown. I'm writing a chapter in a collaborative book that's coming out next year, and another collaborative book that's coming out later in the year. I write, and I make little videos here and there, and audios as well. So, but if anybody wants to know more, the voiceover work, and I also coach speakers and presenters, and have done for many years now. But if anybody wants to know anything more about the voiceover work, I do English and Scottish voiceovers. And the Scottish ones, here's my Scottish voice. So the Scottish ones are very sought after. And I was asked the other day just to do something for a Canadian man, would you believe, to introduce his podcast. So that was quite exciting. He said it was a nod to his Scottish ancestry. But that was one of my Scottish accents. I realised that I did it a bit ad hoc there. But if anybody wants to know anything, we'll go to my website, jjsalchemy.com, and you will find out more about me.
And what I'm going to ask is, because I forgot to put it here, and that after this, that please JJ, you make sure that you add it to this, and we'll add it to the stream so that people know. If people go to the link that I gave before, I'll put it back before we end. They'll be able to connect with you through Eventbrite and get all your information through that link, because that is your event with Women Speakers Association. Let me just say that for those of you that are watching live, once again, thank you. For those of you that are watching the replay, thank you. Reminding you that if you have a question for me, just make sure you tag me at Evie Hernandez. If you have a question for JJ, make sure you tag her too. And we'll come back and check out to see if you've had a question. You'll have links so that you can connect with JJ. Like I said, I'm going to put once again the Women's Speakers Association event happening on Wednesday, July the 7th at 2 p.m. our Florida time here. And through there, you can also follow JJ in all her Eventbrite events, as well as you'll find her contact information. If you have any questions of me, I want to make sure that you go to Evie at bizniversity.com. As I always ask, please make sure that if you want to communicate, that you add me to your list inside your inbox. That way you never miss any of my email, specifically emails like today that I send out an email announcing that I had a special guest here today so that you can join. I want to encourage you, if you haven't done so already, to please go ahead and visit our website regularly each and every month. And I'll show you where you can go if you're watching here today, so that you can see all of the different events that we have. And let me just go ahead and share this. If you go here, you'll notice that we have more resources. Here, I always announce where's the newest and latest event that you have with us. Here, you can sign up for our next Synergy Partners Networking, where we will have Tiffany Kellogg, who was the guest speaker last Wednesday, talking about networking, and we'll actually have her be a guest speaker and run us through some of her tips and tricks on how to network online. As always, I want to remind you, you can find us on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. You can also simply visit bizniversity.com, live biz TV. We post all our videos right there, so you can find us there. And just so that you know, our upcoming event, for those of you that may be interested, let me make sure I stop sharing here for a second. Our next coming event is a free event, so feel free to join us. Let me remove this. Okay, great. And the next event, we have a free event when I come back, and that is a virtual I have 7 simple secrets to boost your email marketing results. I know it's a huge URL, but I'm going to post it also here. That is a free event that is happening when I get back in July, and feel free to join us. It's a free webinar. I might also do it inside of our private online challenge group for those of you in our online challenge community. And I'll be talking about 7 simple things that you really need to do if you want to be more productive and grow your business by email marketing. Let me just go ahead and once again remind you of the Women's Speakers Association event happening on July the 7th. That's a Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. And anything else, JJ, that you would like to add?
No, I would just like to say we will be absolutely delighted to see all of you and any of you at the event on July the 7th. And thank you so much for letting me talk about it and for having me on the show today. Thank you.
Well, I absolutely loved it. You are a total pleasure to speak to. And, you know, we'll talk more. I am debating whether or not I'm having the 2021 Speakers Growth Summit this year, because some of you may know that I am getting married on November 11 at 11 a.m. It's a Thursday. And so usually our Bizniversity Speakers Growth Summit occur in the month of October. So I still would like to do it. And so just keep in touch with me, and I'll let you know. And then you and I, JJ, will talk, because I want to see how maybe we can bring you and maybe some of your community and your tribe and the people that love you. So we'll talk more about that as we
Great.
get closer and as I get maybe a download as to, am I having it this year in October right before my wedding? So we'll talk more about that. For now, I just want to say thank you so much. I know that in Scotland it's over 8 p.m. It's actually now closer to 9 p.m. So I greatly appreciate your energy, your enthusiasm, the way that you share what you do for your community, for our Women's Speakers Association community, and just for the world at large. I'm just grateful that there are wonderful, amazing human beings like you who are not afraid of spreading their light with the world.
Oh, well, thank you. And I'm very grateful to you and for this opportunity. As I said, it's been an absolute joy. So thank you very, very much.
Thank you. And thanks everyone for joining us. Thank you, Donna, for joining us, and Gail, and also Sherry Richardson, who's out there. Thank you all. I look forward to seeing all of you on Wednesday, July 7th at the Women's Speakers Association meeting. Remember, get your ticket today, bit.ly/WSA 7721. That's July 7th at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. And I look forward to seeing everyone there. Thank you very much and have an amazing rest of the week.
Thank you.